Looks like we're live, everyone. Yeah, it looks like we're live, and it looks like we're getting some Russian news right as I'm talking right now. Um, so yeah, let's get right into this. Yeah, it looks like some Russian news, back and forth. Not really sure what it's about, but we're down 1% and almost 1% on SPX. So let's go over today. Today's action on SPY, and then we'll switch over to SPX. So today on SPY, I think previously what I was looking at is, so we're on this daily downtrend, and then I was looking at the hourly for SPY, and pretty much the whole market was the way I approached this today. So we had this high from the previous day, 1 hour high. So I said we should top fish this level because at the end of the day we need a 1 hour trend change, right? If you're bullish. So every time you're bearish, you should be looking in the other direction, right? Just to protect. So the bullish move would have been here, get over this high, which we did, but no follow through, and then bounce, creating um, uh, a higher low, right? Hourly higher low. That's what we need to start a trend change on SPY and overall the whole market. But we obviously didn't do that, and we kind of tried there, right around 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock Central, and we couldn't do it, right? It was a pretty weak bounce. Um, I actually woke up late. I was planning on trading Tesla, but I think I got in. There was like this bear flag around this time frame, so that's where I got into that. So let's look at this on the futures chart because um, the daily's down here at this weekly low. So we're close to breaking that low, and my guess is we're going to break it tomorrow, possibly with some increasing volume down here on SPY and QQQ. We already broke it. And another thing that I want to say that is noteworthy is another thing that is noteworthy for me is, so let's go back to the hourly. And then I'm gonna put these session breaks, right? So that splits up the days. So if you can see, well, not every day, but for example, yesterday, you can see here that we dipped, and then in the end of the day, we had like some kind of a bounce, right? And then same here. Well, that wasn't yesterday, that was Monday, and then this is, that was Tuesday or whatever, the 18th, Friday. So we've been having these bounces at the end of the day that cools off the RSI, but today we didn't. We just ended near the low of the day, and then you can see that on the daily candles, right? So the daily candles will just have see all of these candles over here, how we kind of bounce towards the end of the day or at some point. This one ended pretty close to the end of the to the low of the day, right? We didn't get any bounce. All right, so that's pretty notable. What that tells me is probably gonna get a gap down, and it does look like the futures are pretty red right now. And yeah, on the futures chart, you can see here, we already broke. We're, I mean, not already. We're breaking it right now. The weekly low that I was looking at. So overall, pretty bearish. Um, on SPY, let's map out some levels to the downside. All right, and for this, if it gaps down tomorrow, I'm looking to close bearish positions, at least partially. So I only got Tesla, but yeah, looking to close that tomorrow if it does gap down, because as you guys know, gaps need to fill and it'll eventually create a bounce towards that gap. So let's map out some levels. We have this 23% retracement at 418. All right, and we have this 404 and 400 level. So I'm thinking might head down there to 400. Uh, some intermediate levels, that 418 level. That's probably where it's at right around now. And another level would be around 415-ish. So keep an eye 415. If it breaks that, coming down to 400 on SPY. QQQ is obviously a little weaker. This one already broke today. That low, that weekly low that we were looking at was what, like 334. So it already broke that. Sorry, already broke that during today's session. So now we have 328. It's probably under that on the futures chart. And the big one for me is this 38% retracement around 316, 315. So could get under that if things get ugly. If this gaps down, um, I'm gonna start looking for some patterns the other way, because not the other way necessarily, but might get some intermediate, like short-term bounce on that, because you can see this is definitely bearish, because now the bulls need to get all the way up to 357 on this. So it needs to bounce on the hourly. You know, the one day is just dead. It's at the lowest point, right? Ended at the low of the day today. So super bearish. If you held puts on this, that's pretty good. And if it gaps down tomorrow, I would look to close some on any kind of reversal pattern in case of a gap down. But I don't know, things are getting pretty tense. Looks like down 1.5% now, just as I'm talking. So so we'll see. Definitely super bearish. This There's no sign of a reversal right now. So the 1 hour needs to get all the way up to 342 from 330. Um, or I guess this level here, 338. So there's going to be bears waiting for that for sure. And this is, if this gaps down, it has even more ground to make up. So definitely super bearish on this. But a gap down will have me a little cautious on the bearishness. All right, so let's take a look at semiconductors. All right, so semiconductors, same thing. Uh, Same thing as overall market. We tried to get over that hourly, the last hourly high. We weren't able to, and down we went, right? In the pre-market, we tried to get over. We did get over, but no follow through, and then down we went. and now it's breaking that 1 hour low and creating another low at some point down here. It'll create another low. And this one's actually holding up a little bit better than the rest of the market. This one's still uh, a little bit away from that weekly low of 248. So it has some way to go to get down to this level. All right, whereas SPY and QQQ are right. I mean, QQQ already broke it, and then SPY um, is right at that level at the close. It was at least. Um, so yeah, continuation of this downtrend tomorrow. That's what I'm looking for. So we've got setting those daily lower highs and just continuing downward. And we'll probably get some kind of a bounce here at 248. So that might be a good place to buy some temporary calls. I'm not really looking at calls right now, guys, to be honest. Um, as long as we, like the bears are in control like this, in this way, where they're like kind of like a demolition crew, right? Just like methodically, setting lower lows. Now, I will be interested if we gap down all the way here and then hold it, create a little bounce. I would be interested in that to at least fill a gap. Um, but just short term, nothing too long term right now for in terms of going long or buying calls. All right, so I'm thinking most stuff is gonna gap down tomorrow, uh, and we'll see. A gap down will have me looking for possibly some short-term calls. All right, so same thing here. AMD is part of the semiconductors, and this one has a way about 9% to go to the downside to break that weekly low of 99.50. As you can see, similar to um, semiconductors, there's some support down over here. 1, 2 touches, 3 touches, and another touch there would be 4 touches. So, so this might be a good short-term call buying opportunity there if it does get there um, quickly, right? If it keeps, like I said before, if it keeps doing this nice little, downtrend to the downside, then I'm not really interested. But if it gets there quickly, gap down to this level, sorry, this 99.50 level, then I might be interested in that. Because the way, if it keeps going down like this, nice and slow, bears are in control, the RSI gets nice and cooled off, So if it does like a quick dump, then I might be interested in some short-term puts at that level. I mean, short-term calls. All right, so let's go over. Oh, if anybody has any chart requests, let me know in the live chat. Apple. So Apple's been holding up pretty good for what it is. It's obviously going down with the rest, but what I'm trying to show here is Apple's obviously the biggest stock on the stock market, and there's this trend line from COVID, right? This blue line, and it's right at that blue line, but this is only one, 2, 3 touches there, so it's not that great of a trend line. But there's this other one, red line, this red or pink line. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4, and this would be the fifth. If it manages to break like under 154, then this can have some serious uh, downside for the market. So if this breaks down, I think under 154 in the near term, Apple's the biggest stock, and it could just, you know, create a huge downside for the market. So just keep an eye on that 154.70. I'm not looking to short Apple because it's the strongest stock on the market. Not the strongest, but like one of the strongest in the technology sector. But this will definitely be bad for QQQ and all of those other tech stocks that are in that uh, in that arena, right? Uh, Mainly this one right here, Tesla, has just been ripping to the downside. This is the one I've been playing for a downtrend. It's gone down maybe, so in the last 4 days, it's gone down quite a bit. It's gone down, let's see, from this high down to the low, like 16, 17%. So that's a good opportunity there for puts, or was good opportunity. And let's go over quickly. Well, we don't really need to go over the trade review. It's the same as what I explained earlier for QQ and SPY and everything pretty much. We've been like breaking or getting close to the last hourly highs and then just dumping. Today, we got over it in pre-market, and we can go over that real quick if anyone's interested again in how to, catch a trade, right? So let's see. So we had that low there, I mean that high from yesterday that we were looking at, right? Either that or 356 on the hourly, I believe, and then we did break over it. All right, we did break over it, and then we mark our pre-market highs, right? So pre-market high was 837. Once we opened here on the 5 minute, you can see that we got a little bounce and just straight flush, right? So I told you guys to look for this rejection of either this 831 or 856, and we got it right away. Unfortunately, I went to sleep late yesterday and didn't end up catching it till down here. This is when I woke up around 9 o'clock. But there was a nice little bear flag for me, so you guys left some crumbs for me here, and it did get a good downward trend there. So that was good. Tesla's definitely super weak. Has a long way to go to change the trend. So bears are looking super comfortable on this one, and it's just been going down like 5% every day. Um, so what am I looking at for this one? This one needs some kind of a bounce. This is too much of a drop. I would like to see some kind of a bounce, at least a bear flag to cool off the RSI and then continue to the downside. But the way this aftermarket's looking, looks like we're gonna end up gapping down, which is fine. I'll be looking to, close the positions that I have, or at least partially close them. So let's take a look at RSI on the hourly for Tesla. All right, so RSI is super beat up on the hourly, 19, and on the daily, on the daily we're close to 30. And then here's another thing that I was trying to show you guys. So the squeeze indicator, um, right up here, we were squeezing for a while, right? And then we ended up bouncing there. It's just kind of in this range between 946 and 852. Um, we were just squeezing around there for a while and just creating tension, and then it broke to the downside pretty aggressively. So that's what you're seeing there. I know I mentioned it before that it could break to the downside. So just a bunch of things that I kind of look at to know what's the best stock to get into. Um, and I don't always know what's the best stock, but this one was pretty clear. And then it broke this low down here, broke a bunch of lows, right? Or broke this range, 852. So to the downside, let's map out some levels where this might bounce because it does need a bounce to continue a nice downtrend. So I would say, let's see, probably this is a level here, 745. Let's go back to the hourly. Yeah, I would say 745 is probably a good one. Let's see, 745, and then there's like 720-ish. And overall, I'm thinking this is going to get down to 700 if it continues this way. So keep an eye out for a bounce. You know, bounces are going to be sold uh, pretty aggressively. I would look for a bounce to the 780 level, 770, um, or what is this? You know, like 790. Any of those would be good places to short if you're not already in. All right, so let's move on to another one, another tech stock, Facebook. So Facebook, I was looking at this downtrending wedge, and it ended up breaking bearish, and now we're under 200. So we're at the low of the day. We've pretty much been on a daily downtrend ever since 234. So about 17% as well. 17% drop or like 15% drop. Um, and this one just looks pretty bearish, guys. Would like to see some kind of a bounce, maybe up to 207, but I don't think we're going to get that at least tomorrow. Um, and then some levels, obviously, that 196 there. 196 is a gap fill, so that looks like it's already filling. And then it's kind of looking a little thin down here. I'm thinking this one's going to dump hard again if it manages to get a little bounce. So there isn't much. There's another gap right there. So this guy's a lot of gaps actually. So that's that's good news for the for anyone that's bearish. So gap here, 182. Another gap like all the way down here at 168. Um, so those are some levels to the downside that I would be interested in seeing what happens there. But yeah, this one needs a bounce. Not looking like it's gonna get a just straight drop. Not even a no daily trend change. There's a little one there, but that one's looking pretty bad. Let's take a look at Netflix. All right, same thing as Facebook. Had this nice falling wedge, and it ended up breaking breaking bearish. So key level here is 351. If that breaks, we can see a whole lot more downside on this one. Um, in terms of RSI, we are down close to 30, but um, that might not matter in this environment right now. The volume is not really increasing, so we'll see if we get an increase in volume, maybe some bad news, I don't know. Um, but definitely looking super bearish. The hourly is definitely needs a trend change, right? So keep an eye out if you're playing bearish on any of these names. Let's check out the hourly just in case there is uh, a 1 hour level close by. But no, it doesn't look like that's the case. It's about $10 away. So this can bounce $10 and still be bearish. Today it's down 9, so it can go up what it went down today and still be bearish. All right, let's go over Roku. This one actually held up pretty decently today. Down 3%. Actually, it held up pretty good during the day, but I guess it got dumped towards the end of the day. So let's take a look. We opened up, so this is pretty weak, but holding up. So the bounce was weak, right? We didn't even get up to this last high, and we just dumped in the pre-market and in the first hour or whatever. But then we kind of held up, trying to um, trying to bounce. But this is a fake bounce, right? So this is our last daily spot where we were trying to bounce. We barely broke over that high, and then now we're down under it, and we're forming this daily downtrend. So anything under, this is a good one for tomorrow, because this one kind of held up, and if you know anything about Roku, this one can have some explosive moves. So anything under 117.83, that'll be a nice place to get in for puts. All right, 17, what did I say? 1783 for puts on this one. All right, even if it does bounce a little bit, expect it to break down under that level. Okay, overall this one looks like a kind of like a bear flag to me. All right, no chart requests today, guys. I'm almost done with my list, so let me know, let me know. So yeah, this looks like some kind of a bear flag that's about to wind up. Okay, or maybe it'll just could also be, you know, downtrend, continuation of that downtrend. Okay, one of the two. Um, let's look at some miners, Bitcoin miners and Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, daily downtrend. All right, so you guys can see that, right? So we got that high, lower high, another lower high there. And then now we're all the way down to 35K. And we broke another low, that 36K mark. And we're gonna see if we can hold 32,950, which was the lowest point um, recently. So the weekly low on the weekly chart, right? So yeah, on this one you can see, there was this trend line, but at the end of the day, This was a nice bounce, but we're still setting weekly, weekly lower lows. We'll see what happens here if it can bounce before that and try to, set that trend change to the upside. But this one still looks bearish overall. And with that being said, so let's take a look real quick on the 4 hour, see if I can see anything there. Has been dumping for 3 days, and it's at the low of the day, low of the trading session, because this one trades 24/7, I guess. I'm trying to drag this chart up. 4 hour, so pretty aggressive dip there on the 4 hour. For this one, yeah, I would wait for a little bounce to take place, but we'll see. Top fish this level, same as we did today. Hopefully, if it can. I mean, not top fish Bitcoin, because I don't know if you guys trade Bitcoin at all, but the stocks that I'm gonna mention right now are related to it. So what we're looking for here is a some kind of a little bounce, maybe a little bear flag, and then continue to the downside under 35K. And that goes with Mara, M-A-R-A. This one has been dipping pretty aggressively for 1, 2, 3, 4 days, and pretty much needs some kind of a daily bounce. See, as you can see, it's similar to Bitcoin, whereas this is the low 1943. So let's zoom into the hourly, because this does need a bounce, but I'll give you guys a level to the downside and to the upside. So to the downside, if we break this low over here, 21, that might be good for some puts. But quite honestly, I would just wait for a bounce on this, because you can see the 1 hour is pretty beat up. And that's going to be my main takeaway, guys, from this. This is probably going to gap down because we close at the end of the day. So for a gap down, you want to sell into weakness, right? If you have puts, um, sell when it's coming down, and that'll give you a nice return. And there's going to be a gap maybe right here, and then maybe we'll bounce like that, right, into the gap. So you can just reload if it closes that gap. So that's kind of my takeaway from this video for tomorrow. If we gap down, look to lock in some good profits. If you have puts, if you have calls, we're down like 2%, so we're definitely gapping down tomorrow, guys. If you have calls, then you're pretty much screwed, right? Because depending on what expiration you have, you're gonna get destroyed in the morning, right? Even if it bounces a little bit overnight, I don't think it'll bounce 2%, right? So everything's gonna gap down. Look to take profit. There will be a bounce at some point, and then look to reload on that bounce, right? So if you look at QQQ, let's look at the NASDAQ, or let's look at SPX, since I know the levels pretty well there. So this is gapping down. SPX. So this is gapping down. What the? Okay, here we go. This is gapping down to 412. 412, 410 level. On SPY would be 410, 412, and this is an aggressive dip, right? Super aggressive. Like experienced traders will like this kind of a dip, right? because usually that leads to some kind of bounce at some point, right? Um, so on SPY, this will just look like we ended here, and then we're opening over here. So there's going to be a gap, wait for some level, and catch a little bit of calls, or if you don't, want to get screwed over on calls, catching a falling knife, wait for the bounce, and then you've got like, some clear levels maybe on the hourly to start looking for that downtrend to continue. So that's kind of my takeaway for today, guys. Um, so that was key today, ending at the end of the day, ending at the low. So that was key. Let's go back to SPY real quick. So we're at what, 413? That's is it 413? Might be less, or I mean more. Might be a little higher. But let's see what we mapped out, if that makes sense on any of these levels. So maybe it's right around 414. Maybe this is coming down here, close to 414. So we ended here the day, and now we're might open somewhere in this zone in the 414s, 414, 415 level. Um, and just keep an eye. Maybe it'll bounce. Maybe it'll do a bear flag, and continue downward. But we need some kind of a bounce, right? This, like here, we got a little one, a little bounce, and then we continue down. This is a really tiny one. Now we're continuing down. So we need some kind of intermediate bounce to get in, or to feel a little more comfortable that we're not buying puts at the lowest point, right? Um, so that's my takeaway, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comments section. And that's all I have for today.